Bolt, this is a story that's been all over the news, trending on social media. We talked about it on the morning show, has blocked the accounts of the trolls on the Nigerian and the South African side that were involved in booking fake rides in each other's countries, causing drivers to go on a road to nowhere. They've got a quote from one particular driver in South Africa who said he drove from, I think, Cape Town to Stellenbosch, about 50 kilometers, and he ended up, wasting that time. He says it was time wasted because of internet jokes. So there's been a lot of impact. We are very happy to have Yahaya Mohammed. He's the country manager, Bolt Nigeria, on the show to talk about this. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much on short notice for joining us to discuss this. How did you find out this was happening? Was it social media or internal checks?
Basically, it was mixed. I got messages internally and also got messages externally, everybody messaging me saying that, okay, this thing has happened as early as 6 a.m. in the morning. So all we just did was escalate it via our internal channels and then try and figure out a solution to actually prevent these things from happening.
I do want to bring up that quote because a lot of people have been talking about how the drivers have been impacted. So pretty much the driver in South Africa said, so here it is. He said, I think he was talking to Tech Cabal. I drove from Cape Town to Stellenbosch to pick up a customer, only to realize it was a fake request. That's almost 50 kilometers worth of fuel gone because of internet jokes. So, I think I was a little amazed at this. I was like, oh, wow, is this really possible? This is possible? This is enabled by the app to do an international ride booking?
Yes, absolutely. So I think I'll address two things, right? So the driver getting a request 50 kilometers from his point of his location is actually something that should not be accepted by the driver. Oh. So the drivers within their app, they're able to set a kilometer radius for accepting rides. Minimum is 2 kilometers, recommended is 4, so you can get the maximum orders. So if you get anything absurdly high, like 50 kilometers, we don't expect you to actually take that because you drive essentially for, I don't know, maybe more than an hour.
Right.
And you don't really get compensated by that, or for that, long distance pickup. And then on the second point on us actually having international rides booking, it's something that we actually encourage. We just celebrated 11 years last week. And it's a feature that has really helped a lot of customers around the world. We're available in 50 countries. And many people, up until recently where we had this abuse, has been a feature that has worked very well for a lot of people. Yeah. So it's something we encourage.
Well, it makes sense. If you travel to another country, you should be able to order a ride.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So talk to us about how you've blocked these users, what the process was like in terms of tracing these rides and then blocking them.
Essentially we're just able to track high volumes of orders being made without actually having any finishes. So you're just ordering and you're not actually completing these rides. And you're doing it cross country. So what we did was starting to block high volumes of where these orders are coming from both Nigeria and South Africa. And then the second and more permanent solution was then to just trace IP addresses from both countries and actually restrict them from ordering outside these countries.
Very interesting. Are they what's the punishment? Are they permanently blocked?
So an investigation will be done internally, and obviously everything will be analyzed on a cohort basis on how you've ordered and also past history of performance of riders. So it's not something that has been determined yet, but then obviously investigations would go on, and these riders would definitely be analyzed in terms of their performance and what they've actually done over these past few days.
Is there any, and this was brought up on the morning show, I think Ayo brought this up, around Rufai too. I'm not sure about this, but is there any theoretical, we're speaking in the theoretical here, any room for compensation for these drivers that have gone on these wasted trips? How do you think
currently it would have to be again in-depth analysis of actually the rides that were booked and then the kilometers that you did spend and wasted, and then actually seeing whether there's room for that. But at the moment, it's something that is currently being discussed, and obviously a communication will go out to drivers in the next few days.
Now, what measures have you taken that this doesn't happen again? Because again, you don't want to restrict being able to order a ride in another country. So how's that going to work going forward?
So going forward, obviously you'd have to have a more restricted access in terms of particularly these two countries whenever you have international feuds that are brew such as these ones. But it's not ultimately an error on the app. It's something that we do encourage, and we do continue to envisage having on the app, being able to book internationally. So Obviously, it would be a combined solution in terms of communicating and also ultimately restricting poor rider behavior.
Okay, I want to ask you a non-tech question, just as I don't know, maybe as a Nigerian or as an observer. Nigeria and South Africa. I don't know what's happening. I guess it's just a coincidence with so many things. We've got the World Cup rivalry where we're in the same group. I think we drew last time and we're going to face them again.
Yeah.
We've got the Chidinma additional matter, the controversy with the beauty contest. She's left there. She's come here to Nigeria. Then you had in sports, Israel Adesanya losing to Dricus Du Plessis, and even Du Plessis was questioning Adesanya's, African roots. What do you make of this? And I guess this has now spilled into what we saw with you guys. What's your
it's quite unfortunate that everything has resolved into this. In the past years, we've seen a lot of friendly banter between Nigerians and Ghanaians. Unfortunately, the case with South Africa has been a bit more disingenuous, a bit more violent, and it's something that we really discourage seeing. During the days of apartheid, we know that Nigeria was an ardent supporter of South Africa. We really dedicated resources in terms of really supporting their freedom. Today we've come to the situation whereby the relations between both countries are very poor, politically, economically, even on a collective level for society. So I would really like us to, start having those conversations in terms of fostering Pan-Africanism between both countries and also really trying to progress on things that really matter economically and politically.
Makes sense. Okay, to Nigeria now. We've been having these incessant fuel scarcities. We had an oil and gas analyst in our first segment. I have to ask you, now that I have you, take this opportunity. During fuel scarcities, we noticed that the cost of rides go up. So you make more money off this, right? Do the drivers do as well? Talk to us about what happens when there's fuel scarcity and you order rides.
No, we don't make more money because ultimately we have less driver partners on the road. So I'll give an example. We have riders making, let's say we have 10 orders coming on the app, and as opposed to having 10 drivers fulfill this order, we have only 5 driver partners. So what we have is we have orders that are not being fulfilled on the app, and ultimately you have riders being left with a suboptimal experience, which is not something we would like. And the price would go up because of surge, and that's just a factor of supply and demand. You have less supply, high demand, and then the price goes up. It's also not favorable for the drivers because ultimately you have longer driving minutes. So as opposed to maybe you're on Admiralty near Evercare, a call comes in from Freedom Way, which is less than 2 kilometers away. You ultimately don't have other drivers able to take it, so you then have to drive more dead kilometers just to meet orders that naturally other drivers would take.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, just a minute left. Diversifying, would they both go into water transportation, ride-hailing boats? What's the future look like?
That's a massive project for the long term, and it's not something that we're considering at the short term right now. We're currently considering other cheaper options. So for example, CNG. We're working with government partners. So the Presidential Committee on CNG Initiative, they've committed to reducing CNG installation by 50% for our drivers, and it's something that we're looking to advance on. Hopefully we should have implementation coming soon in Abuja and hopefully scale through the rest of the country. So in the short term, that's what we're looking at, potentially EVs as well. But waterways, unfortunately,
not for now.
Not for now.
Mr. Yahaya Mohammed, country manager, Bolt Nigeria, thank you again for coming on short notice to talk to us about this matter. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.